Hello there, everybody. Welcome to the Creative Bias Podcast. This is your fearless host, Steve. Hey, Darla, I'm good. Good to see you. Darla and I were just chatting right before we started recording. And I was asking Darla a question that I'm actually surprised I haven't asked before, which is for her to talk to me about some of her creative outlets. And you were saying that you, ever since like way back in the day, have been a journaler. Um, and as you were talking about journaling, well, first of all, why don't you talk a little bit about that? Tell me what you were telling me. Like, when did it start? When did you start journaling? What does something have to be like to become journaling worthy?
I think it's like a mixture of a lot of things actually, but it definitely started like single digits age, like as soon as I learned how to write.
Okay.
Um, I was writing for myself, not for anyone. Um, I think there was like some show, maybe
Mm,
like some children's show that had like I don't know if it was like Carmen San Diego, but like that era. There was,
yeah,
like, some journal show, and, I just wanted one of those, like, composition notebooks.
totally.
Um,
You've talked in the past about rituals. Do you have like a ritual when you like get a new notebook? Has it always been the same type of notebook? Or do you ever experiment with like, oh, this time I'm going to get like an actual thing that's purpose built for journaling or like, yeah, what is that like?
yeah, no, in the beginning, it was. In the beginning, I just wanted to have, like, a compositioned, like, notebook the way that it was in the show,
Mm-hmm.
but then, as I got older, Barnes& Noble was, like, where I would go to get a new journal, and I would
Yep.
look for, like, a really cool cover. And I think that that's sort of, like, carried on since, but now it's more just I let it find me almost, like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'll buy a journal from Walgreens.
Right.
Sometimes I'll buy a journal from, like, a bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the one I have now, I think I probably got, like, a Target. It depends. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
very romantic, sometimes it's just like, "Oh, this is a cool book, whatever, I'm just gonna get it."
Utilitarian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eh,
Um, but ritual-wise and so this is where I say I think it's a combination of things. I don't think I had the name for it or knowledge of it, but I've recently learned that part of, like, having ADHD
Mm,
is, like, brain dumping,
okay.
like, your day
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
people, and
Mm-hmm.
so when I don't have the opportunity to do that with someone, like, tell someone all about everything I did that day, that's literally what I'll journal about a lot of times is how it starts. Is
Yeah.
I'll just say, like, "Today started with this, and then I did that," and then but then what happens with journaling is, like, I'll actually have the time to slow down and
Mm-hmm.
reflect on what
Yeah.
things mean to me or what my feelings are about them, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's the most fulfilling thing about journaling is that, especially for me in terms of gratitude,
Yep.
I mean, yeah, if you're currently living in this day and age, it's really, really easy to get down in the dumps about
Uh-huh.
anything. Um, and so journaling, I think, is actually the thing that probably keeps my hope alive.
And so do you journal every day?
No, it used to be, and I think that that's, another thing that I've learned along, I guess, my journaling journey
Mhm.
is, consistency doesn't mean every day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. It's like our
Consistency
podcast.
yeah, there you go.
You know, sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't, but we're consistent in the fact that we are always gonna do it.
Right, and I think that that's the thing with journaling, especially, it's like you're doing it when you need it. And
Exactly.
so sometimes in my life, I need to do it every day because it's like
Mhm.
I'm not overstimulated.
Right.
Sometimes, like, 10 days will go by, 2 weeks will go by, and I'm like, "Oh, shit, I haven't journaled in a minute."
Mhm.
But it's rare that I think if more than, like, 2 weeks go by, something's up. And then
Mm,
that's how
mhm.
I know, is, like, I'll
Right.
get to the point where it's like, I need to journal, and then I'll realize, like, "Oh, I haven't journaled it, like, that's why I'm spiraling right now."
I was gonna ask that. Okay, so what's the emotional A, B from like, or the emotional from to when you're in a state where you're like, I need to journal. And then you finish, you put down the pen and you're done journaling. Do you use a pen or is it a pencil or a quill, a feather with a ink pen?
Uh, I use felt pens, like
Felt
the felt
pens.
tip
Yeah.
pens, but
Yeah.
it's always a different color, and I pick the color based on how I feel that day.
Amazing. I have never seen your handwriting. Do you have very good handwriting?
It depends on like, I've
Mm,
seen, like, days where I'm taking my time and, like, writing intentionally, the handwriting's
yep.
super neat.
Okay.
On days where I just need to get it out,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
different, you know what I mean?
All right. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, keep going. So what's the emotional from to?
So it is a spectrum. It definitely is a from to. I think sometimes it's usually whichever it is, it's usually overwhelmed. Like I'm either overwhelmed by a lot of good things happening or I'm
Yeah.
overwhelmed by feeling weird but not being able to really identify why I feel weird.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really gives me the opportunity to get some clarity on
Yep.
whatever it is that I'm feeling because I think when I don't journal is when it's easy for me to emotionally bypass. And emotional bypassing is like you feel that you feel off because you don't want to feel off. You kind of like stay almost in like this toxic
Mm.
positivity or this
Uh-huh.
performative like just keep going, just work through it,
Mm-hmm.
and that always catches up with you.
Yeah, yeah. So emotional bypassing could also be like, if you don't want to feel an emotion, you might turn to substances. You might distract yourself with other things,
Yeah.
or you might just suppress. Um,
Yeah, and there's times I consciously do it. Like
yeah,
there's times where I'm like
oh, for
I
sure.
next time I journal, I'm gonna journal about this, but I'm just not ready to do that right now.
Totally right.
And that's fine as long as you do.
Uh huh. One of the things. So I've never journaled, but one of the things I find interesting about it is this is going to get really deep really quick, and then I'm going to pull out of it. One of the things I think about a lot is like legacy, and I'm not a legacy person because like in the span of time, like what is having a legacy? Like even Jeff Bezos, like he invented Amazon. Who cares? Someday it's gonna be like, what is Amazon? Nobody knows what that is anymore. Um,
Mm,
but sometimes I'm like, I've lived all this life, all these days, all these years, and like I don't have a record of it. It's like I haven't been documenting it other than in
mhm,
my imperfect, horrible, like, memory.
mhm,
And kind of you leave a couple of fragments here and there if you're a creative person, like you write songs or you take pictures, and it's this vain attempt to like, I don't even know if it's like leave a legacy for other people to know, but it's like to be like, okay, I did something with my time here. Do you feel like, do you ever think about like you must have, I don't know, dozens of notebooks scattered around the where places you've left and wherever. So like,
mhm.
first question, do you think of that as a legacy? Does it help you make sense of your existence? And then I have another question after you answer that.
Yeah, so the answer to that is all of the above, and I think the answer to that changes, depending on which version of me you're talking to.
Mhm.
Um, I think when I was a kid and this first started, I was acutely aware of, like, as someone who at a very young age, uh, liked watching documentaries, liked
Mhm.
watching biopics,
Yeah,
and understanding that the only way that these things get made is if there is a record of it.
totally.
That's actually if I'm being so vulnerable and for real, I think on some level that's what I understood, and that's
Yeah.
why I started. But then I think it became more than that as I got older and, like, to present day was, like, if I ever have kids,
Mhm.
God forbid something happens to me,
Mhm.
I want them
Mhm.
to if they wanna know who I am, there's a place that they can find
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
even if it's things they never wanted to know about their mom, you know what
Right. Right.
I mean? Um, but a lot of the time, and I think this is the majority of it, I've understood, the more I actually stopped running away from myself and actually connected with myself.
Mm.
Every time I write in there, it's almost like a love letter to me,
Yeah, yeah.
and I don't know that relationship with anyone other than myself,
Right.
and so that's what's become, like, kind of sacred about it,
Mhm.
because that's the only person outside of, like, the few letters I've written to parents or
Yeah.
about my parents, um, my journal is essentially a love letter to me.
That's amazing. So here's the second question. Have you ever let anyone else read any of it?
Not as of yet, no, never. I've only ever sometimes when I think it's important or, like, someone will mention something and I'll say, "I literally wrote about this in my journal the
Mhm.
other day."
Right.
Um, which I could count on one hand how many times that happens. I will read back what I wrote to them almost as a way to, like, validate my experience with them to them.
Yeah.
Um, like, I guess the best example I could give is, like, if a friend of mine has been like, "Oh, well, I feel like this thing that I did didn't matter because da, da, da." I was like, "I literally wrote in my journal last night about how I saw you do that thing, and I found it inspiring because I
Right.
wish that I had whatever to do that." And
That's awesome.
so, yeah, but other than that, no.
Um, now I'm a dog with a bone with this whole topic, so, uh,
Okay.
bear with me.
Yeah.
On a scale of 0, like it's a fictional representation of you, to no, warts and all, everything, how honest are you about yourself when you journal?
It depends on the day.
Mhm.
There are some days, um, I think the journaling is almost I guess on the really hard days, on the
Mhm.
days where you know how they say, like, you have to pick yourself up by your bootstraps?
Yeah,
Sometimes pulling yourself up by your bootstraps is almost like you need to be performative with yourself to
for
trick
sure.
yourself into thinking that
Oh,
that's
for
how you
sure.
actually feel. I've had plenty of those, especially, like, I would say at the height of my depression, I was trying
Mhm.
to convince myself I wasn't depressed
Right, right.
when I
Yeah.
clearly was, but in my
Mhm.
journal, you read on those days, it's like, "But I'm grateful for blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah," right?
It's like yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
and
yeah.
I can read that back on the other side of it, and I was like, "Girl, you were trying so hard," and that's
Right.
valid. That
And
I
that's
don't judge myself for it.
right, and I would even say, like, you're kind of practicing in those moments cognitive behavioral therapy where you're like, "I can decide what to focus on. My thoughts don't need to control me because I can control my
Exactly.
thoughts."
That's
And I can
exactly the thought process behind that.
yeah, yeah. But
But then there's other
yeah.
days where I write about things and I'm like, "Man, if anyone ever finds this, I hope I'm dead." Like, I hope
Mhm.
I am not here.
Mhm. I feel like that's one of the
But
reasons why I never have journaled because I feel like, uh I feel like being honest with yourself about yourself is a very hard thing to do, and I
mhm,
think most people don't,
mhm,
and, like, I won't speak for anyone but myself, but, like,
mhm,
we're all flawed, we all make mistakes, we all do things that we're not proud of, and, like, if I was gonna keep a running account of all the times that I wasn't proud of my behavior or the things I've said and done and thought and whatever, it's like I don't wanna be reminded of how imperfect I am, and but then, and this is what makes this a creative conversation, is,
mhm.
like, in a lot of ways, sometimes I think art, certainly, and creativity also, is an attempt for us to understand ourselves, and, like, you people make art
1,000.
so they can understand themselves or they can let something inside of themselves that feels bad and uncomfortable out so that they can be like, okay, I either exercise that demon or at least I can understand it because I externalized it in some form. Um, is there
Yeah.
any of that's ever been like a conscious part of your journaling?
Oh, I one, I just wanna, like, go back to what you just said about, like, artists. How can I say this? I think the medium through which we express ourselves when it's out in the open,
Mhm.
it's vulnerable, but it's the most vulnerable we allow ourselves to be, right? So whether that's painting, singing,
Mhm. Mhm.
acting,
Mhm.
that's how that artist feels comfortable being vulnerable.
Right.
And I think with for me, writing, um, it's not something I share outwardly,
Right.
right? So, I think I used to, like, write poetry and, like, post it on Facebook when I was in college, that was the time. Um,
I used to
um,
shitpost on Facebook like it was Twitter because that was my attempt at a artistic outlet for a
yeah,
brief
but
moment in
I
history.
think yeah, I think, it's just like in real life, right? People only tell you what they want you to know about them,
Right.
and I'm always, like, acutely aware of, like, okay, if someone's even being vulnerable with me, like, they're still only telling me what they're comfortable with me knowing. So imagine
Totally.
when I don't know, you know what I mean?
Right.
Um, but wait, what was your question? I'm, like, going off on a tangent here.
My question was, like, have you ever, had, like, the meta thought where you're like, "My journaling is more than me giving self-administered therapy. It is a artistic endeavor."
Yeah, sometimes I will come to some conclusions or, like, I will write something that sounds so, like, poetic even to me that I'm
Yeah.
just like, "Yo, bars!" Like, I literally like, "Oh, we gotta use this."
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's where that kinda stuff happens.
Yeah.
So sure, that's definitely
I think
happened for
it's
me.
interesting because I think, I always when I was, like, a stupid yet I thought I was smart, I don't know, teenager, or early 20s, I would
Mhm.
hear people talk about bands or musicians and be like, "Oh, they're a sellout." And I'd be like, "Well, if you've heard of them, of course they're a sellout." Like,
Yep,
if you weren't a sellout, you would write songs in your basement and play them in front of the mirror because that's the purest artistic expression. The second
right.
you start to think about, like, I wanna play this song for people, then you start to then it becomes a product. And so what I was saying about you journaling is, like, that can still be creating art and maybe in its purest form, even if, like, no one's ever gonna know about it, see it, whatever. You're engaging in creatively outputting your own feelings in some
Mhm.
format for the purpose of trying to make sense of something. And so that was all I was getting
Yeah,
after with that. Yeah.
I think, for me too for me, and then I guess for, like, in my coaching practice, I think the thing that is most beneficial for me and then in turn for clients is that I can make sense of a lot of things by witnessing my own witnessing through journaling,
Mm. Mm.
um, in a way that I don't know that I'd be able to do simply by just, like, stopping to reflect in a moment.
Right.
There's something about writing it down that makes it stick,
100%.
and understanding that if I'm feeling it, I'm not the only one who's ever felt that before. And so when
That's
people
right.
come to me with similar stories or a similar sentiment that they might not be able to articulate, but I've already taken the time to articulate it and I say it
Mm.
back to them and they're like, that's what I was talking about. That's what helps me be like really good at my job.
Totally, and that's also the reason why we have to get the AI and the
Mhm.
Chromebooks out of the classrooms because no, I'm kidding. Well, I mean, I do believe it, because I think what you
No.
said is actually really interesting, which is when you write something down, that gets it to stick. If you're just tapping away on a keyboard or if you're talking to Claude or whatever, it
Yeah,
doesn't I mean, there's science that it doesn't stick as good
you're
as
right.
it does
I
if you write it down.
I fully experienced that.
Yep.
The more
Would
that
you ever digitally journal? Would you ever be like, "I'm just gonna type this into a Word doc?"
do you know I tried I my last journal, I got an iPad, and I thought, "Oh, I'll just download the notebook
Mhm.
app and write on my
Yeah.
iPad." Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just didn't feel
It's not the
the
same.
same. I don't think
Yeah.
it's the same, even though you're still writing on something.
Mhm.
The fact that it's, like, not pen and paper, I
I
don't
know,
know.
and I do you think it's like so because you and I both grew up, even though I'm much,
Analog.
much more elderly, but, like, yeah, analog. And so, like, maybe for kids who I don't know, though. I mean, my daughter's 10. She still
Yeah.
writes with a pencil and a
Okay.
pen, and, like, she's
I'm so happy
learned
to hear
that.
that.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
happy.
she doesn't want to. She wants
Right.
everything to be on the iPad, but, like and she reads books. Like, she reads legit paper books and,
Wow. Yeah.
like a ferocious amount of reading.
She
And
gets that from you
so
for sure.
yeah, my wife reads a lot too.
Oh,
I
yeah?
actually yeah, I read,
Okay.
but I think we both do. I think that's where it comes from. And my wife also, like, I'll give my wife a lot of credit. When my daughter was really little, we always had books for her all over the place, and we would read to her every single night. And so, like, we kinda locked that in. But, like, you can tell, like, we're maybe one generation away from, like, what is a pencil? What is a why would I use my
Yeah.
hand
No, I
in
mean,
that way?
if I have kids, I feel like that would be a real thing, and
Yeah.
also, I think, um, ancestrally for me, I didn't
Mm,
realize how big of a thing this was for me, and I don't think I've ever shared this with you because it's not really something that ever comes up in conversation.
'kay.
Um, I my grandmother was illiterate, and so was my father. So
Okay.
I literally come from, direct lineage of people who either taught themselves how to read by, like, literally sounding it out, but
Yeah.
education-wise, um, didn't learn.
Mhm. Yep.
And then my stepfather too. I recently learned after his passing,
Mhm.
um, this year that he also was illiterate
Wow.
and didn't learn he taught himself how to read and write in the service. That's why he went
Mm.
to serve so that he could
Mhm.
learn how to read and write because when he left, one of his friends, had gotten into contact with someone in their family and was like, "I haven't heard from him. He doesn't care about
Mhm.
me, da 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 da." And it turned out it was just because he didn't know how to write. He couldn't write his friend a
Wow.
letter because he didn't know how. And so he was in the service and he learned. And what's crazy is that that man taught me, like, helped me learn how to read and write. And when I had trouble, because at the time when you had ADHD as a kid,
Mhm. Mhm.
when I was growing up, they thought you had a learning disability.
Right.
And so, well into my 30s, I'm like going through some stuff at my mom's house. I find a letter from one of my teachers that recommended that I be in a special education class. This was my first
Mhm.
time finding out about it, well after I'd also gotten diagnosed with ADHD at like 25.
Right.
And my mom
Crazy.
was like, I was like, "Mom, what is this?" And she was like, "Oh, yeah, they wanted to put you in special ed." But I was like, "You don't need
And
that."
then you were like, "Why didn't they? Why
I was like,
you
"Okay,
were
but
holding
maybe
out
we
on
could have
me?"
followed up so I didn't have to wait till I was 25 to find out that I literally had a fucking
Honestly, gee whiz.
ADHD." But yeah,
Well,
so I've always been
parents make
someone who
choices.
wanted yeah, I always wanted to be someone who wanted to read,
Yeah.
like someone who could read in a way for leisure, but for me, it's
Mhm.
always been, I don't wanna say like a chore, but it's a challenge still even now, and it's not because I can't read, it's because it's hard for me to concentrate
Right.
long enough to read, so that I think that that's why I'm more into, like, watching movies and watching
That's
shows
very
and
interesting.
getting
Yeah.
stories that way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can definitely see that. And I also I've never been diagnosed with ADHD. I think I have, like, moments where I'm like, I definitely have it. I smoked cigarettes for, like, a long ass time, and I'm pretty sure a lot of that was, like, self-medicating because it really does help you lock in. Like, don't smoke, and please don't take those whatever those little pods you stick in your
Vapes,
mouth are. Yeah, the vapes or even, like, the whatever what's everyone doing now?
chewing
What's it called?
tobacco?
No, it's like,
Wow.
Zyn. It's like that it's like a little pouch of a white powder, which is nicotine, and then you stick it in
Oh,
your lip so you don't have to spit and stuff like that, but it helps
okay.
people and then you listen to Joe Rogan, and he probably tells people they should do it, and so
Ugh,
you've got all these people zinning,
don't listen to that
and
podcast.
no, um, and so anyway, but so all of that to say, for me, reading actually helps my brain slow down, and, like, because
Yeah,
I have to imagine what's going on behind the words, like, "Okay, what does that room look like, and what does the person that they're describing look like?"
it
And da da
activates
da
your
da da da.
imagination in the best
Totally,
way. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right, interesting.
I
Well,
think
that's
also
yeah. No, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say about the smoking,
Mhm.
as someone who may or may not smoke, um, we've had our battles.
No comment on your party girl voice, by the way, today.
No, 0. That's not what are you talking about? Um, no, because I actually made a case when I was at Columbia in my roommate likes to call it divinity school, but it was my SMBI program, spirituality, mind, and body. Um, one of the one of my classmates who worked as, like, a hostess would tell me that, like, the chef, she was trying to get her team her staff into, like, meditating with her or
Mhm,
whatever,
mhm,
and
mhm.
they were all like, "We don't have time for that."
Right.
But then she went on to tell us how the chef will literally go out for a smoke break, like, every 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And I said to her, I was like, "So the chef guy, he was the one who said, 'I don't have time to meditate,' right?'"
Mhm.
And she was like, "Oh, yeah. How did you know that?" And I was like, "Because he doesn't realize it, but even though he's smoking, that's exactly what he's doing when he goes out to
100%.
smoke. He's literally focusing on his breathing. It's a somatic exercise that
Totally.
he is doing to regulate his nervous system because
Mhm.
that's what his body is calling for, but because of the nicotine, it actually does the antithesis of that, that
Dude,
the practice, the ritual is the same.
it 100% is, and I have had multiple friends who wouldn't quit smoking because they were like, "If I quit smoking, I'm never gonna have good ideas again because I always come up with my good ideas when I'm walking around smoking." And, like, for a long time when I worked at Starcom, I would have said the same thing, and I
Mhm.
was nervous to quit smoking because A, it became part of my identity. I was like,
Mhm.
"Well, I'm a smoker. I mean, the fuck?" And and if I was, like, wrestling with a problem, I'd be like, "Well, I'm gonna go down and have a cigarette." And I'd go down and I'd think about the problem and I walk around and I walk around, I walk around, and then I'd be like, "Well, we're gonna do this." And you would come up with something. Um, it became a social thing. And so I think there is this, and I've kind of talked about this before, but like there is this like overlap between being creative and
Addictive.
addiction.
Yeah,
Um, And we can talk more about that in depth in a different episode, but for sure it becomes a ritual that like helps you, or at least you imagine it helps you express yourself.
1000%.
So that's on journaling. So uh strong recommendation to journal to anyone all your friends and family. Like, is there anyone
Yeah.
who wouldn't benefit from journaling?
I think it's a really good outlet. I actually had, an acquaintance of mine recently be like, "Look, so what do you write about? Like, what do you do?" I was like, That's the
Were you
thing, you
like
can."
you? I write about you.
No, no,
All
no,
just you.
right. No, but I straight up was just like, "That's the best thing about journaling. It can literally be whatever you want it to be." Like, some days I will write 1 paragraph and be like just to, like, tick the box if I feel like I need to.
Yeah, that's
Other
good.
days, I will write pages and pages of pages of just seemingly nothing, but
Who do you think, like, what kind of person would be the best journaler? Like a crime boss or something? Like, there's always something going on? Because I feel like if I was journaling, a lot of it would just be like I ate breakfast today, then I went to the
Boring.
gym, then I went to a meeting, had a call.
I think weirdly, some of the most profound or extraordinary conclusions come out of really, really ordinary experiences.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this will inspire me to take a look at journaling.
Yeah, give it a try.
Yeah, maybe I will. All right. So I think that's that. And as always, to our 8 listeners, actually, I think we have 9 listeners now. Um,
Heyo.
heyo. To our 9 listeners, thank you for joining us as usual. And we look forward to talking with you all again soon. Thanks a lot, D.
Bye, Steve.
Bye.